Yesterday, I talked about Highguard and how a number of corporate journalists have been very upset with gamers for not supporting their latest slop. And since then, they've only gotten even more upset. And not just them, not just the corporate journalists, but even a number of high-profile AAA game devs have come out expressing their support for Highguard and their anger towards gamers for, once again, not supporting this game. We have Sven Vinke here, the Larian CEO, and it's unfortunate to see him making some really bad takes right now. This is someone who, of course, has made some great games, and he's made some good points in the past regarding the state of the industry. Like I said, his current takes are rather unfortunate. He starts by making a take that essentially expresses implied support for Highguard and dislike towards people mocking Highguard, as well as a deleted tweet, which I will show you in a moment. Let's start with the initial tweet here, take it from the top. He says, "I don't like people trashing on things others have created. Putting something out into the world makes you vulnerable, and that alone deserves respect, even if you dislike the creation. It's easy to destroy things. It's a lot harder to build them. The best critics understand this. Even when they're being critical, they do their best not to be hurtful." I mean, the fact of the matter is we don't owe these people anything, including our respect. Hey, they made slop and it was free. What, we're supposed to respect that? I don't think so, man. Again, I appreciate some of the stuff he's done for the industry, but I do not agree with this one. I'm not trying to hate on the dude, but yeah, I just don't think the point's very good. Then there is the deleted tweet that was posted next. This one had said, "Sometimes I think it would be a good idea for critics to be scored, Metacritic style, based on how others evaluate their criticism. I like to imagine it would encourage a bit more restraint. The harsh words do real damage. You shouldn't have to grow callous on your soul just because you want to publish something." This is essentially a call for like a Reddit tier system. Again, the context here is not gaming journalists. He is implied to be defending Highguard and upset at people mocking it, which largely is coming from Steam reviews, and individuals making videos, comments on various social media platforms, etc., etc. Which again implies that the context of him wanting critics to be evaluated is towards these individuals. This is a Reddit tier system where it can easily be abused and result in people getting censored. Over on Reddit, for example, we see that anyone outside of the popular opinion gets massively downvoted. In many cases, moderators even step in, they outright remove those posts or even ban those accounts. And then the whole thing with him saying the harsh words do real damage. The phrasing on that is concerning because I've seen some of the biggest manipulators online using the exact same rhetoric, where they're totally fine with people saying things if they're on their side, but as soon as they start getting criticism back, suddenly they start talking about how things need to get toned down, or that the language is too harsh, that it causes real damage, etc., etc. I'll give you guys a quick example of what I mean, though. I'll elaborate on this a little bit. In 2025, there was the English VA strike against Hoyoverse, which was a part of a larger strike from SAG-AFTRA against the gaming industry. And the Hoyoverse side, they're trying to call it a collective work refusal, however they want to spin it, whatever. But they were striking against Hoyoverse, and they wanted gamers to support them. And they said that the strike was only for AI protections. Well, over time, gamers read into this more. We got more information, and we saw that was actually a lie. What they really wanted was to monopolize the industry. And they wanted to force every VA on Hoyoverse games to be a part of their very corrupt union, SAG-AFTRA. And any VA that wasn't a part of the union and therefore would go on to refuse joining the union, they wanted that VA fired, terminated, and replaced with a union VA. And so when gamers read into this and started criticizing them for this, suddenly these VAs began to get very toxic, and they were starting to insult the fans left and right, even trying to get outright communities banned off the internet because we dared question the lies that they were putting out there. And then when we started criticizing them more and more for these horrible actions, they started saying similar things like, "Oh, it's getting too hot in here. Oh, the temperature's too high. Oh, you need to tone it down. The words are causing real damage." And it's like, where was that energy when you were directing the same stuff at us? Or, as a matter of fact, worse stuff at us. And then we point out that they're being toxic and suddenly we need to tone it down. Suddenly we're being tone policed. I don't think so. The last part I'd like to discuss briefly is where he said in his deleted tweet, "You shouldn't have to grow callous on your soul just because you want to publish something." So first of all, the general negative comments and critical reviews that games get are largely generalized towards the game itself in this context. For example, once again, Highguard. Yes, people are criticizing the game and pointing out where the devs could have done better. However, almost all of that criticism is, as mentioned, directed at the game in general and not at specific people. And so these corpos that Savin is trying to appeal to here and cover for, run defense for, they're actually getting off easy compared to the sort of stuff that all of us have to deal with. Everyone else on the internet has to deal with more targeted criticism, whether we're talking about someone posting an opinion somewhere and then getting 50 people responding critically and calling them out directly, or someone posting art on Twitter and then getting the Twitter police all replying with personal insults, in some cases even threats at them, because the Twitter police were offended by the art that artist made. There's so many examples of this sort of thing, and they all essentially boil down to day-to-day activities online that we all have to deal with. And yet he's implying that AAA devs have to go callous because of the stuff that they have to deal with. And it's like, dude, we're dealing with worse than that on a daily basis. Come on. Savin then goes on to talk about a reviewer that he thought did a really good job. One of the best reviewers he ever knew, actually. And how that person refuses to review games that he thought would be considered failures. You know, there's a word for that, bro. It's called a shill. Anyways, he then concludes by saying, and yes, I get that if people are charging money, you want to know if it's good or not. But reviewers can just say, I didn't enjoy it, or I don't think it's well made, or I don't think it's worth the money they're charging. That's enough. No need to get personal for the sake of some likes. Look, first of all, it's not even just about the money. And this is going to be something you're going to see a lot with the rest of these takes. A lot of people are trying to defend Highguard by saying it's free. And he's not saying that here, but my point is it's not always about the money. Time is also very important. And these people are not obligated to our time or our money. Above that, too, he says, like, be nice to people that create things. Look, we're going to be nice to people that are nice. There are people that create things and are very toxic and rude. Like, just by default, someone creating things doesn't mean that they are, that we're all obliged to be nice to them, is my point. And then him saying, you need them. It's like, no, we really don't. It's more contextual than that. And then back down to the last part there where he's saying, like, reviewers can just say, I didn't enjoy it, or I don't think it's well made, or I don't think it's worth the money. And he's like, that's enough. People are allowed to say more than that, man. That doesn't mean it's personal. That doesn't mean they're just trying to get likes. As a matter of fact, it's good when people express all the issues they have with the game. It allows the game to have a chance at improving. It's not bad for people to leave a nuanced opinion, even if it's a negative review. Anyways, once again, Savin has made some good takes in the past. I just don't think this was one of them. Not that deep, though. Moving on. The next person we have here is Cliff Bleszinski, who they say is an American video game designer known for his work on Unreal and Gears of War, while over at Epic Games. After leaving Epic in 2012, he co-founded Boss Key Productions in 2014, which closed in 2018 after the commercial failure of the multiplayer shooter Lawbreakers. Since Boss Key's closure, Bleszinski has spent his time with theater and writing. And he says, when did it become trendy to hate on a new game? Been seeing it more and more in recent years. It's exhausting. It's exhausting, guys. You're just supposed to consume and not question anything. Why aren't you all just supporting us? In response to his question, this user would say, since the rise of the gaming grifters, it became profitable to foment hate. And Cliff just says, totally. Yeah, that's all that's going on here. It's not that these games are genuinely bad or, in some cases, mid. It's not that they could improve their games at all, right? No. It's just the gaming grifters. That's why these people aren't getting support for their games, right? They can do nothing wrong. As usual from these sort of people, they never take accountability. They never admit where they could improve on things. And there's nothing wrong with admitting that, you can improve on things. That's actually totally fine. But these people are so egotistical that they'll never admit that. And instead, they look for any excuse to deflect blame on others. Oh, it's just the fault of the gaming grifters. And so they get called out for this, or rather, I should say, he gets called out for this in the responses. For example, when the journalists refused to properly review, the gamers started doing it themselves. Now the industry is upset. Another one simply saying hypocrite. And then this one saying, everyone is a grifter when they criticize bad gaming practices, trash releases, and outright antagonistic brands. Got it. Then we got this Paris guy from the Kinda Funny podcast. He says, if you love video games, always root for a game to succeed. The ripple effect of a failed game on the industry impacts the people who make games and us, the people who enjoy playing them for many years afterwards. You're witnessing that impact right now. His response says, sorry, man, but no. Rewarding subpar products is how you continue to get subpar products. Speaking out about what you like and dislike is something that a customer has the right to do and should do. Yeah, it's hilarious that this guy is talking about the industry, which has become increasingly corrupt and increasingly predatory towards all of us. And he's like, oh no, guys, if you're not supporting the industry, it's going to negatively impact the industry. Yeah, that's not a problem. That's actually a good thing. That's a good thing. Bro took something that's actually great and is like, hey guys, that's bad. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't try to make the industry a better place. Just consume. Recurring theme with these people. It's also hilarious how he's saying that we need to actively root for the industry. Sometimes you hear people say stuff like, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything. Well, he took it a step above that even. He's saying we need to actively root for the industry. Like what, he expects us to be literal cheerleaders for AAA? Hey, EA, you did a great job. Activision Blizzard, I'm cheering for you guys. Keep up the great work. Take more of my money, please. Oh, we're not done yet, though. Mark Rain would quote tweet Cliff Bleszinski's tweet that we just read. And this guy is a vice president and co-founder of Epic Games. He says, it's downright horrible, especially a free game from a new studio. Just so sad. This is a hobby for people. Really? No way. No way. I thought you were making this for dogs. They should approach with joy, not hatred. Oh, we love to hear Corpo's virtue signaling to all of us, right? That's going to go really well. Really sincere stuff. We keep seeing this attempted defense from these people where they say, it's free. And then this guy's actually saying that we should approach it with joy. Oh my gosh, the cringe is unreal with these people. Hey guys, that game's free. You should be joyful. You should be thankful. It goes back to what I keep saying about how time is also a resource. Just because it's free doesn't mean that we're obligated to unquestionably consume your latest slop. Nice try. Good response here. Says, honest question. If a game can't sustain even a 20% first day retention, how is that an issue of quote unquote hatred? Shouldn't the game stand on its own? What exactly does it tell you when the game is not even hitting half free to play benchmark for day one retention? Then there's this Swift on Security account, got like 400k followers on Twitter. And unfortunately, I didn't get a screenshot of this one. He's protected his entire account after getting backlash for his tweet that was similarly shilling for Highguard and getting mad at gamers for not supporting it. But this is notable because, once again, this was someone who was using that rhetoric of the game's free. Why are you guys disliking this game? It's free. We can see responses, for example, pointing that out, saying, criticizing a stillborn game is yet another example of a tasteless project that had tons of money and effort poured into it. You have no right to say that. The game is free. Another one here saying it's free and still not worth the cost to play it. And just because it's free doesn't mean it's safe from legit criticism. All right, we're going to speed run through the rest of this because I'm starting to run out of time today for making videos. And if I have a little extra time left, there is something about Pokemon I want to cover. So hopefully I can get all this done in time. And I think I made all my main points already anyways. So continuing really quick, we've got Game Dad. And Game Dad says, Highguard is another example of why I tire of online discourse regarding gaming showcases. The rise of the anti-fans is huge. Back in the day, if something wasn't for you, you focused on the stuff you like. Now people put as much energy into hating something as they do what they like. This is not me saying don't criticize or dislike a game. Of course do that. This is me talking about spending as much passion, time, and energy being against a game as you would liking it. The anti-fan, rooting for a downfall, negative coverage boosted by algorithms has fueled this. This guy's just being a massive drama queen. It's very common for gamers to spend hundreds of hours playing a game that they really like. They're not spending an equivalent amount of time disliking a game that they don't like. Maybe they watch a few videos about the game, maybe they leave a negative review, and that's really it. It is not the same thing like this guy's trying to say, oh, they spend the same amount of time disliking it as they do on games that they would like. No, you're being ridiculous. You're being a drama queen. And lastly, we've got Poodle saying, I missed the times where gamers said it's not for me to a game they didn't enjoy. Now all we have is trashing and disrespecting games just because they didn't like it. Once again, this is a ridiculous thing to say. Most of the time, people just move on. Like, for example, on Steam, they have the discovery queue. and gamers will go through the queue. They give you 10 games, and you see if one appeals to you. If not, you click next. And then you click next again, and then you click next again. And then maybe you see a game and you're like, oh, okay, you know, maybe I'll put that on my wish list. And then next. Quite literally, gamers all the time see a game that doesn't appeal to them, and they don't say anything about it. They just move right on, whether that's on Steam in the discovery queue or the front page of Steam or whatever console store that you're playing on. This is the norm. But every now and then, when a big game comes out and achieves a news cycle like Highguard is right now, or like Veilguard did in the past, or Concord, etc., yeah, people are going to talk about those and express their opinions on this stuff. It's not a crazy concept. It's a very simple thing, really. The reality, as mentioned, is that, yes, most of the time gamers just move on from games that they're not interested in. It is what it is. It's simple as a click. But then you have these people acting shocked that gamers are actually talking about a game that's currently in the news cycle, and they have an opinion that's negative. Oh my gosh, that means they must be making it their life's mission to hate on games, and they don't really play games. You know, it's just infinite false equivalences from these people. I don't know what's wrong with them. I don't know how they get these ideas in their head. It's just really out of touch, but I'll leave it there. Thank you all for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next time.